it's always you load your ticker and then you load your function to analyze it. You can obviously change it manually afterwards, but that's how you proceed. Let's say you want to add more things on the graph. That's where you will do it. It's here in add data. So for example, you want to compare the price of a stock and it's, I don't know, it's P ratio. You just type the metric you want to look at, and you can add it that way. Here are the different data you have: volume, price. You can add more, you can remove them. It's quite straightforward in that sense. Now let's go back, let's look at the price again. Something that you can do also is type what you want. So if you want to, okay, let's say we look at the last year. You see there is a major increase here. Okay, what happened? You can type news and select one of those. So for example, news headlines. We will add on the chart all the news headlines that happen in regards to, let's use maybe something 1 month, so more visibility. Okay, so you have all the news, you can select them one by one. Let's use Euro US, that was a better example, I believe. Okay, let's start again. I think to a long view. Yeah, so now you have the, okay, something happened here, okay, what happened, and then you can directly click on the news to have more information about that. Okay. Let's put this here. Okay. Now, you have, the terminal works with stickers. So stocks, fixed income, for bonds, commodities. We have one function you can use to find tickers if you don't know it by heart. It's called SECF. You can just type finder, I guess, yeah, and you have it. So the idea here, you don't know what is, for example, I don't know, you want to look for an index, maybe an index that is tracking, I don't know, the European market. You can go here in that function, you filter by index. Wait, let's go back here. You filter here, index, and you can just type your keywords, or I don't know, Europe defense, like an index tracking defense company, for example. And yeah, that's how you can search for securities. You can do the same for bonds. So you want bonds for, I don't know, Disney. And here you will have the different bonds. That's one way to do it. But I think that's a good tool for you when you struggle finding tickers. What I will do also is I will send you an email at the end with all the functions.
I wonder, is there some possibility of a screener?
Screener, yeah, absolutely. So we have different types of screeners. We have one for fixed income, one for equities. The one for equities is called EQS, equity screening. So you can just type equity screening if you don't know the code. It comes up directly. For fixed income, you just type fixed income screening. Yeah, you see, we have it here directly. Search. It's pretty straightforward. Let's say you want to look at all company in Europe, I don't know, with a P ratio below 15. You go country, very straightforward, Western Europe, select your countries or just the region as a whole, updates. So by default we have a lot of companies and now we are up to 11,000. So let's reduce, you can type the metrics you look at, P ratio.
Lucas?
Yes.
Can you zoom in a bit?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Better?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Okay. Let's go back to that. Yeah, just type P ratio, select your field, and then greater or lower than 15, for example, and then maybe let's look at only the one from a specific sector. Let's do financials. Okay, now we have 300 companies. You can get your result directly that way. Now let's say you have some project and you might be running the same search all over again and again. You can just save it, so you don't have to do it twice. Action, save as, you give it a name, financial, for example, and then you have here your search. You just open it, run, and you have your search with your result. Okay. So that's the one for equities, fixed income. Similar, you just type your keywords, maturity 2024. Now what you can do also is, so the function is called SRCH. You can say SRCH bonds on bonds maturity in, just type a keyword 2026 for Disney with yield above or below 3. So you can just type those keywords. So it's always what do you want, in what, with what, on those type of small. And we have a search that goes to basically result. If you don't want to use that method, you just open the function and you type your keyword manually, so yield. And then you select your parameters, what you want, and the universe will be reduced automatically. Okay. So is that clear? Yeah. Oh, cool. So what we have seen for the equity screening, it works the same for the news. So you can do news on Trump and tariff, for example. That's how you can customize your search. Now I guess that's a lot of news. You don't really know what's happening here. What you can also do is click here on key themes to spell tariff correctly. And so basically it uses your search and it group it by theme. So instead of having everything news after news, you classify everything by theme, so you just have to look, okay, what are the key themes? And those are the key themes, okay. You can go back to history, what happened during the last month in that subject. You can change the topic, you can say, you can add keywords, Fed, inflation, and yeah, your screen is gonna be reduced automatically. Otherwise, all news functionalities are available in N. So that's a key shortcut. And from N, it's a dashboard where you can access all of them. We have, I think, more than 50. So, but yeah, my recommendation would be to use. There are 3 of them that you can use. First is using news on whatever you want to look at, F1, whatever. Or you go on N, you can use top news. Top news is the most important news you have to read today, essentially, that are impacting the market. And the third one will be on the company. So let's say you want to look at the news on a specific company, you can do IBM, and then you can do CN, which stands for company news. So company news comes directly, and you can just load it like that way. So that's all the news on IBM. You can do your key teams, you classify everything again, so you have a better view.
Lucas?
Yes.
But are those, like the sources of those news are outside the company? Or among them can I also find like news of the company produced by the company itself?
Okay, so
Like the broad question is, can I, company X, make my figure to the public positive by producing many positive news about me and publishing them on Bloomberg?
So the company doesn't directly release. This is only news source from Financial Times, New York Times, and so on, Bloomberg, all agencies that are licensed. Let's say, yeah, it's not. I can show you how you can find transcripts, financial reports published by the company.
And are those affecting the general overview of the company?
Yeah, obviously, if there is a bad article, it might affect the stock price or what investor believes. Yeah.
And how controls Bloomberg which news are or not in the terminal?
Sorry.
I mean, Bloomberg how control which sources are good or not, or the fake news and these type of things?
That's a good question. I don't know. If you go into sources, you can check all the sources we have. Then the decision making on which sources are accepted or not, I'm not sure.
Because I think that Bloomberg is just a collector of news. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it does not check if it is fake or not. Just
So you can do source, right? Select your source news, browse. So that's all the Bloomberg one, web source, ABC, BBC, other news source. Yeah, but let's say you want only something reliable, you can just type Bloomberg as a news source, or Financial Times. So here it's going to be only the news from the FT on IBM, essentially. So that's something you can do.
So Bloomberg doesn't do additional fact checking?
I believe so. I cannot run you through the process because I don't know. I'm sure that it's pretty well. Yeah. Now, if you want to look at more research or transcript, so transcript being, I don't know, earnings call, document published by the corporation itself and your report and so on, you can go into something called document search. The code is called DS. That's this one here. So DS, on DS you have 10,000 of documents. You have all the research, so I don't know, JP Morgan analyst publishing research on covering a specific industry and covering those stocks. Is going to publish research, and then institutions on the buy side are going to pay for that research to get that additional information on whether or not it's a good investment. So that research is available on DS. Obviously, the university might not be paying for it, so you might not have access to it, but you will have access for sure to the Bloomberg Intelligence Research, which is analysts in Bloomberg doing the same job, but they don't really have an opinion. It's more like giving you facts about the company, what's happening. And you also have access to all other documents going from fund prospectus, earnings call. So it's, I think, more than 900 type of documents. What you can do is type your company name or an index to filter it down. So now we only have the document on the number of the S&P 500, and you can type what you want. So let's say you want earnings call. You just type your keyword, So let's open this one for transcribe, strike. So when the company is publishing his quarterly, semi-annual report, Bloomberg is gonna give you the transcript of what has been mentioned during the call. Something that is quite cool and we added is the ability for you not to have to listen to 1 hour of call because it takes a lot of time. You can just go here on the side, topic, and here are the most important topic that have been mentioned to the call. So for example, you want to see what did they say about cyber attacks or new product they are introducing. It just gives you access directly to where this has been mentioned. Or you can also ask your own question on the call. So that's our Bloomberg AI that is in the background. So you can ask your question, it summarizes it for you.
Now, what about independent research?
Independent research from
the academics. Like for instance, if I have a paper on the Standard & Poor's 500.
Academic research.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have it on the terminal now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in this case you need to use a specialized provider. But,
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't think it is. But now let's say you want research, so you can filter the source here. Select research. And this is going to be only the research you have access to. So for example here, this analyst made research on this company Salesforce and gave...
Can you zoom in a bit?
Yeah, of course. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So this analyst gave published a research on Salesforce and gave a buy recommendation. I have access to it because Bloomberg is paying for it. And you can open it that way. So for the analysis they made and the recommendation as well. Talking about recommendation from analysts. So let's look at Louis Vuitton, for example. You can type you see just analyst recommendation, it comes directly. ANR is a code, otherwise. And so this is going to show you all the different analysts, their name covering the company, and their different recommendations. So for example, Adam believes that LVMH is a buy recommendation and his target price for the next 12 months is 750. Yes?
Can you see how many of them recommend to buy and how many of them recommend to?
Yeah, so I think here you have 21 analysts,
Oh,
which represent almost 60%. Some of them say, okay, let's wait for now, and one is recommending to sell.
Is it also possible to see their individual analyst's track record?
Oh yeah, right, yes. So let's see, I think you should click on it if I recall. So PRR, that's all the stock PRR covers. So you see she covers basically the same industry. Gives you the recommendation and you have the return actually that they're making generally speaking. So that's the aggregated return based on the recommendation. Yeah, you can see.
And one can become an analyst, or is it chosen by Bloomberg based on some parameter?
Sorry?
I mean, can anyone become one of those analysts that gives some suggestions, or?
No, it's basically, I don't know, for example, BNP Paribas, they have a department of analysts, research analysts, they produce research to sell them to corporation. So that's something they do internally with analysts or not. And we just put the data on the terminal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
we don't really.
So they're not doing this for Bloomberg?
No, no,
But
no.
they're just extracted from the documents.
Exactly, and we put the data here for our clients to have access to it easily, but we don't decide.
But you can only see like the rating regarding buying and selling. You can't see the proper like orders or positions.
So the orders that are now being completed, no, I cannot see. I can see once it's completed what has been.
Of course.
This way you can see it. Yeah. So that's for the analyst, right? Now, sorry. Yeah, just to give you some context, every time someone mentioned Lucas, I have an alert saying that's the sound of my so what did I want to show? Yes. So let's say you want to see who is owning the company. You can type holders, and you have your code here, HDS. Okay, so those are all the funds, institutional investor, that are owning actually that specific company. So Meta, that's the number of share Vanguard is owning in total, and this represents basically almost 10% of the overall market cap of the company. And then you can look at, okay, which fund of Vanguard is actually owning, and then you have the details of each of the funds and so on. You can also look at insider transaction. So for example, is Zuckerberg actually selling shares of Meta? You can market buy or sell. Zuckerberg. So he has been selling that amount on each of the states, basically. Can graph it to see when it happened, when people that are part of the company has been selling them. And then yeah, you have a lot of analytics here. You can dig into it if you're interested about this type of question. So for example, here it's how much of Meta is owned within funds, ETFs, open and fund, portion fund. So, which country are they from? A lot of analytics. Let's say you want to look at fundamentals, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. You can type financial analysis, FA, you have it. So always use your own words, and then you have the suggestion and you can go into it. FA is the main one we have. So you either have like directly summary tab. Bloomberg is taking the number for everything, making it nice for you, so you don't have to dig into each of the statements. So that's just a summary, or most important thing to know. Otherwise, if you really want to dig into the balance sheet, you have your balance sheet here, income statement, cash flow statement, and everything. What we do also, and it's quite nice, is that for each of the items, if you click on it, you got the transparency of, okay, where is that number actually coming from?
How often are these data refreshed?
Sorry?
How often are these data refreshed?
So it depends. So that's basically the balance sheet, so it's published once a year, right?
Yeah, but let's say, for example, the ratios.
The
Because they
ratio.
depend on the price.
Yeah, it depends which ratio. Here we are looking at cash equivalent, so that has been published in 2024, it's not gonna move right. Now if we look at ratio, depends which one you look at. If you look at P ratio, you have the price component inside, so it's gonna move every day, right? If you look at the gross margin is not gonna move that much, only when it's published. Depends which ratio. So always look at which component are inside, and then you can determine the frequency at which it's.
But they're updated daily.
Well, it depends. If it's a P ratio, so you have the price component within the equation. Yeah, it's refreshed daily, even intraday. If it's return on common equity, depending on which element are inside, it's annually.
Or we can change annuals like in daily here. You have 10 annuals, yes. Quarters, you have only
Quarterly, yeah.
quarters.
So your income statement, yeah, the company is gonna publish result every 4 months, depending on the country. I think France is semi-annual. It depends where you look at. So yeah, for Meta, it's gonna be every quarter. You also have the projection made by analysts. So the analysts we've seen here, they give a price recommendation, but they also give you an estimation of what they believe the revenue will be, the gross profit will be, and all of those different elements. And yeah, how much it represents in terms of growth period to period.
And the forecasts, they're based on the average of all the analysts, or?
Yeah, exactly. So just to give you an overview. So now I'm looking at revenue for Meta. Let's say we have 64 analysts that are included into the consensus. And so yeah, it's, as you said, it's an average. It's an average. Yeah, of the consensus. It's what we call the street estimate. Okay, that's good. I can come back into that. We have also function for merger and acquisition, IPO. So those are screenings tools as well, a bit like the one I showed you before. So you can screen for which M&A happened recently or which IPO happened. You can use the advanced search. It's straightforward. You define your time range, what type of offer you want, and you screen for it. That's how it looks like. You have the aggregation in terms of timeline. Okay, a lot of IPO happened in that month. The deal list, which parties were involved, and so on. So each of the years. So we have IPO strategy. You can click on it. You get the information about it, how much it represents the timeline, who was involved, how was it structured, and so on. Yeah. I'm not gonna go into details. It's a lot of info, but that's something. If you have project, you need to find that on IPO or M&A. The function are the same basically. They look the same. So it's just a code. MA for merger and acquisition, and IPO for IPO. Easy. Any question?
When we have IPO again,
Yeah.
in top deals, what are those little columns? So that in the overview page.
Overview, right?
In the top deals,
Top list of deals.
in the zero, right? Yeah. You see that there are those
Oh, yeah.
columns there?
Yeah. So that's the side of the
No,
deal. Sorry.
on the left hand side.
Left.
As
As is.
face of the computer.
Recent news hit. So basically, if there is a lot of news volume about that deal or not,
Okay.
so we can click on it. Yeah, it's basically the number of news that have been published about that deal. For example, if there is an IPO about a really small company no one heard about, well, it won't show that, for example, this one.
Okay.
Now, in terms of fixed income, and then I'm gonna jump straight to ESG. Fixed income, you can type if you want to look at curves, for example. That's a screening tool for the type of curves you want to look at. Maybe to take a step back. So let's say you want to see which bonds does Meta have. You can type this code. I will send you again. I will send you by email. Or we can look at this one. It's better, I think. So what this is gonna do is gonna look at all the bonds of Meta. It's gonna display it on the graph, right? And it's gonna draw the curve using interpolation. The bigger the circle is, this is based on the size that has been issued. And so you can compare curves on Meta against, I don't know, competitors. Just that way. So you can add different curves, compare a bit the spread between them. You can add industry curves, and so on. So that there is a lot of things you can do on this one. That's cool. You have to define curves. You can change. So this is year 2 bid workout. You can change the maturity. Your x and y axis. You can also only plot bonds that have specific ratings going from B plus to B minus, and so it removes the others and it can basically change. So that's for the curve stuff, I would say. We've seen the search function. We also have the capital structure of the company. You want to see how much debt they have, going from loans to the banks or by issuing bonds. That's how you will do it. So caps. So that's Meta. I can show you. Maybe let's do something. So that's basically the main holding, and then you have all the subsidiary of the company, and you have all the debt here directly. So that's how much they have, the different tickers for each. But it is also interesting is, yeah, you can just click on each of them, and for each of them you have the bonds that have been issued. Any question on that?
Apart from the financials, can I also see like the wholesales part of the company, like suppliers and buyers of the products?
All right, yeah, we can do that. So let's look at, I don't know. You can type supply chain. The code comes here. So that gives you an idea, okay, who are the customer of the company, who are the client, who are the customer and who are the suppliers, where are they located, and how much revenue is generated from that customer. So Capcom, for example, 27% of their revenue come from Samsung, so they are heavily relying on it. So, and if Samsung decides to change ships to another provider, well, or create their own one, that's gonna be affecting obviously the financial of the company and the stock price. something investors look at, obviously. And we have the same also, their suppliers. How much them buying the product of their supplier represent for the supplier. And then we have different tabs here. First of all, where are the factories of the company located around the world? So that's something we've seen. Yeah, a lot of us in China, and obviously with the tariffs and let's say the trade war, a lot of their revenue can be at risk, right? So that's something investors look at as well. I don't know the function by heart, so I'm just gonna show you what I know. Yeah, that's basically a bigger table of what we have seen in the summary tab. And those are if you want to dig more into details like customers. In terms of ESG, I mean the code is just called ESG essentially. So there are a lot of information here. Generally the main tab that are being used is first of all the ESG scores. So it's basically compare the company, not against all companies around the world, but against its peers. So in this case, the ones that are creating technology, hardware, equipment, and so on, so within the same industry. So we compare those companies, and we can tell you, okay, compared to the peers, is the company leading or not, or behind, right, in terms of ESG. ESG, we have three main components. You have the environmental pillar. You can see how much it represents overall. So it's 25% of that, right? And that's the score. It's 5.65. Then you have the social. Again, you have the different components. How much of the 45? So yeah, you have it here. And you have the same for the governance. So those three pillars represent all the methodology behind that main score, right?
And is this made up by Bloomberg?
Yeah, that's our own methodology, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to learn more about the methodology. I think you have it here, methodology, ESG score, and then, yeah, you have the fact sheets you can download that explain all the reasoning behind. I personally don't know it by heart, but I can show you how you can find it, and then something nice we have is climate transition as well. So that's gonna tell you so let's say we are looking at what has been said during the Paris Agreement a few years back, and so by 2050, the company is supposed to arrive to zero emission, right? Okay, and that's how they have been reducing their emission. And if they were to follow the trend to arrive to zero at the end of the period, that's kind of what they should be following, right? Now there is an estimation that here they are going to be using more emission than what they should. So again, it shows investor if they are on track or not with that. Yeah, you have a lot of analytics. You can check how much temperature price is going to impact the company. You have the physical risks. So here we look at different. We look at all the assets of the company, where they are located around the world, and are they at risk or not. So So you can see, okay, for this company by 2030, only 5% of their asset is at risk. Okay, you can click on it. Where is it from? Which asset? Which country? Yes. Okay. Some of the solar panel in the US are at risk apparently.
At risk of what?
Well, I don't know in this case. So. Let's go back. So generally it can be from fire to flood to natural disaster, earthquake, rise of temperature. I mean all those natural things that are happening with global warming. Yeah. And then you can compare it to the peers. So yeah, some of them are pretty much at risk. Okay. Nature, we have. Yeah, again, that's kind of the same thing. Water stress. It's more analytics about those different type of risk, going from water deforestation. But yeah, the main type I would say are the AG score, climate transition, physical risk. Then you can look at the other ones if you're interested. Now let's say you look at a fund and not a single stock. So let's look at SPY US equity that basically replicates the S&P 500. You can type description. So DES is one of the most used functions on the terminal. You load your ticker, and then DES, it gives you an overview of the company. What are they doing? Key ratios, revenue, depends on what you look at, but yeah. For funds, we have a tab for ESG actually, which was I did, I think 2 years ago. And so basically it looks at all the holdings and it tells you the aggregated score. So we can see that 50% of that fund has basically a score between 91 to 100, which is pretty good. And then some of them have really bad score here. And then you can click on it, which one are they, and then you can read into it. It tells you also, so looking at all the holdings in that fund, how much are generating revenue from different sources. So you can access it from here. From technology, yeah, 33% come from technology. You can click on the sector, which one are inside, contribution. Revenue coming from technology for this company, we put in 100%. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that?
Can we check out different 13F filings?
Sorry?
If we can check out different 13F filings from super investors, for example.
From?
Super investors like Warren Buffett or Bill Ackman.
Like what they have published about the stock, you mean?
Or what's in their portfolio.
Yeah, right.
Because quarterly they gotta put out their filings.
Okay, so, okay. So you have two things. You have what is into the fund. So here you can type holdings. Yeah, the function. So that within the SPY US equity you have those companies, right? Now if you want to do the reverse, who owns that fund? You can do HDS, so holders, like that. And those will be it. Now if we type Warren Buffett. what they own. Yeah. Maybe one last one on that. We have map. So map is, I mean, it's just a map that you can do many things. Going from, okay, what are the, I don't know, earthquake today around the world? Where are they located? So you have one here, magnitude 6.6. That's quite big. You can do that. You can add natural disasters. You can add a company asset. So okay, so those are the companies, and you can add, I don't know, cyclones. So that tells you historically where have the cyclone been going, which direction, how, which one were they, and so you can see where the assets located and if they are kind of at risk, let's say. That's something you can do. You have more data set here you can add. That's just a quick example, but that's all the map topics you can add on your map. You have one for rising temperatures, extreme heat hazards.
And it's possible to take the opposite, like in this country, this place, which risk that you have.
Yes, so we can remove the company. We can, I see what you mean, okay. Let's remove that. Let's load this one. So we can do, let's say, fire risk. Like you mean an aggregated on for each country what is the risk, right? Or is that?
Yeah, or maybe, I don't know, which risks are more probable to happen in Luxembourg?
Okay, I see. Okay. I'm not sure I know this one. But let me check. No, that's not it. No, that's not the risk. Check. Yeah, I didn't see it on my end. I can check if you want. Come back to you in the email. I can add the answer if we have it or not. I don't know.
Thank you.
Risk on country. Okay, well that's a lot of content I imagine. Maybe you can pause and stop here. If you have more questions, yes?
Is there a page dedicated to the credit notes by the agencies, like on the future for governments or corporates?
Yeah, you have, you can type rating, wait, let's look at, just load your bond, government bond, whatever you want. gives you basically, as you said, so you have the different agencies, Moody's, Fitch, and so on. You can do it on the bond itself or on the issuer. So the government, the company, whoever issued, issuing, and you have the scores here. You also have rating change, and that's basically how the ratings have been changing all the time. You can say. And that looks good. I forgot the code. This one. Yeah, I forgot the code actually, so I'll try to see. This one. Okay, so that's for the country. I will add it into the list for the email. So that's yeah. So you have the agency covering the different countries. You just pick your market, North America and the US or Europe, right? Eurozone, Luxembourg.
I have a question about how extract data from Bloomberg. For example, if I wanted to know effect of non-performance loans for profitability banks, for example, 130 banks, I would like to extract, and then I would like to extract, for example, ratio TA to total equity, and then I would like to work with this data in a Stata or RStudio. How I can extract from Bloomberg
To Excel.
and then because from Excel, as I know, we have in Excel we have button Bloomberg, and then we can directly add another ratio. Can you show this?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So let's see if I have the plugin on this one. Should be. Sorry, this is okay, so you have the Bloomberg add-in here. So let's say there is, I would say, two ways to go about it. On the terminal, we have something called FLES. So it's field library, like that. So that's all the fields you have on the terminal. So you look at this company, you want to know their revenue, you just type what you want. I'm gonna zoom out a bit. Okay, let's say you want that figure. You can easily drag it like that. So you have to go into the override and then drag it. And then it gives you the figure, price, same process, last price, and then you have it, okay, EPS and so on. So you can do it like that. Then you can also, let's say you're gonna look at the EPS for a bunch of companies. So you can add the ticker of your companies on your file, right? Or the ICs, as you want. you do is you remove this part, you select your field, you remove your ticker. So you remove everything except the comma, right? And you put it, and then you just do it for all of them. Oh yeah, you have to fix this. So that's a quick way to do it with this function FLDS. Otherwise, you can also use Bloomberg. I prefer to use this one, BQL Builder here. So you don't have access to it, but I have an AI that basically you just say, okay, give me the price of the. I think you will have access to it soon. So you just say what you want, you have the formula, you say insert, it gives it to you. So that's gonna be much easier for you coming. But I don't think you have it right now, it should be a few months. Otherwise, BQL Builder to do it manually. So you will have access to only Builder, so that's what you're gonna see. Security is what you want to look at, so your company, your bond, your fund, commodity, whatever you want to look at. And then field is basically this. What do you want? I want the price. I want the profit margin. You just select it. You can edit the parameter. So that's basically selecting for which period and so on. So you can select what you want. And when you're ready, insert. Then you have it here. And then if you want to do it for a bunch of companies, same again, you add it on top, remove cell reference, ticker company. I can add this to the email just to give you an example of the syntax as well. Does this answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who says easiest way to do it? Anything else? Good.
The very last question. The students are enrolled in the wealth management course.
Okay.
So I know that each and every function that you showed us can be adapted for a wealth manager. But is there any functions that you would like to suggest that can be helpful for a wealth manager?
So we have something called Port, which is basically portfolio management system. So that's where portfolio manager, that's the tools they use to look at their portfolio and track on a daily basis the performance, what are the risks, how is it performing, which companies contributing the most to the performance. So that's something you can use. However, it's not the easiest function to use when you get started, so that's why I didn't really want to show it. But I think that once you know how to use Port, you can do so many things, especially on the wealth management side. So yeah, I can add in the email instruction on how to set up the portfolio if you want. Otherwise, just by default, you load Port. You will have some default portfolio. You can change it. So that's my portfolio, but you can change it here. And you can select, I don't know, a fund you want. You can select an index to track the position, the performance, and so on. You have a tab for ESG, so that looks at all the portfolio. It gives you an aggregate idea of how your portfolio is doing in terms of ESG, what is the carbon footprint, carbon attribution, which company contributes the most to high carbon emission. It's also really slow, to be fair, but that's because it's a lot of data being pulled. So So you have your companies, your industries, yeah, and you compare it to a benchmark if you want, or you remove your benchmark. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for me because that's already a lot of content. But I can send you some notes about that. But I think that's an interesting tool actually. And otherwise, apart from that, good question. I don't know. Yeah, I think we cover quite a lot already. And yeah, very important. You can do help. And that's basically you being able to ask a question to someone at Bloomberg. So you have someone behind, okay, how do I do that on the terminal? Someone is gonna give you the answer. So yeah, let's say I have this project, I need that data, and that data, how can I? They can help you.
You can use it for mine.
For
For my exam.
yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And we are also introducing an AI that you don't have access, but should be, I think, 2026. It's called Ask Bloomberg. Just type what you want and it gives it to you. You can create chart graphs, summarize what happened in the market yesterday, why did this stock move, what happened, what summary of what the Fed has been saying about increasing the rates. So yeah, anything you want. So going forward, it's going to be easier and easier to use and find data that you need. But yeah.
We also have like a AI generated report for a company, right? So is that Bloomberg's own recommendation, or they are just taking the analyst recommendation and
For which one again?
like for any company, like for any stock FPC?
Yes.
And there we have like a Bloomberg intelligence report which summarizes the whole company and the report, right?
Yeah, Bloomberg Intelligence is analysts in Bloomberg
Okay.
that cover the company. They don't really give recommendations saying, oh yes, you should buy their stocks, because Bloomberg is more like, doesn't give opinions, right? But they use kind of color codes, green, red, saying, okay, yeah. But yeah, it's within Bloomberg.
Can I ask you how you created this button? Help buy sales code,
Yes.
because we don't have
So
our
let's say
Bloomberg.
you find MA, you want to remember HDS, for example. So you're here, you click on your little tool, add to favorite, and you tick show on the toolbar. And now you have your button.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, thank
Now,
you.
if you don't see any button when you log in, you can check options, favorite, and you need to make sure this is ticked. Sometimes it's not.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you need anything. Otherwise, but yeah, it was good having you here today. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.